Welcome everyone to our second webinar in our AngelSense series. We're sharing real life practical ways that some of our families are using the AngelSense device to see really some life-changing victories and milestones. So of course, on behalf of the entire AngelSense team, I want you guys to know how much we value you, the parents and caregivers who really teach us what really works in the day-to-day life with AngelSense technology. So your stories and feedback, drive every update we release. So consider this really a two-way conversation between us tonight. So a little bit about us first. We'll do a brief introduction. My name is Lauren DeClaire. I'm a board certified behavior analyst, and I'm really passionate about really integrating technology into different behavioral interventions to help support in independence and communication. I've had the pleasure of working with so many families using AngelSense over the past couple of years. But today what we're here to focus on is something close to our hearts, which is how can we utilize this technology to enhance language. So with that, I will hand it over to my amazing colleague, Melissa, to tell her story.
Thank you, Lauren. You're amazing too. It's been a great few years working together and, like Lauren said, working with these incredible families. My name is Melissa Schuffelbein. I'm also a board certified behavior analyst, but I only became one because my son was diagnosed at 2 years old with autism spectrum disorder, very severe. He was also believed to be apraxic, so I was told to prepare for him to not speak, which as a parent is a very hard thing to take. It felt like his story had already been written out and we had no authorship over any of that. So I'm so proud to tell you that that is not the case. Um, we tried all different kinds of communication systems and it really didn't work. And by not accepting that story, he now has a totally different one. He has a YouTube channel. He has better vocabulary than mine, even. So he proved it wrong and then some. And I'm really excited to share with you some of the things that we've found effective. So we want to really get to know you. This is interactive. Again, we want to know more about you. So if you could engage with us and answer some questions that we have out for you. What best describes your loved one's communication level? You can answer this by scanning this QR code. It'll give you the prompt to answer the question. If you cannot, if you're logging in from your phone, you are able to also pop it in the chat. Sometimes when you pop it in the chat as well, we get, an answer that maybe we haven't provided. So
Yeah.
So far across the board, we have either nonverbal, somewhat verbal. You're in the right spot if that is the case. Today is all about those kiddos who either have no communication yet, are kind of emerging in communication, and then also how to strengthen those who do have verbal skills. Um, no, oh, some people are using an augmentative communication device as well. That's really great. All right. Thank you for sharing. This really helps us kind of tailor what we're talking about to what's most relevant for you. That's why we love to have these polls. So that way, when we're speaking to you and we're speaking to your needs. So, Lauren, why don't we get going? Can you tell us what we're doing here today?
For sure. Yeah. So we'll just start kind of by discussing that challenge that we're here to solve. And really, we want to meet you guys and your families and your children where you're at and your skill set. So we'll kind of talk about a wide variety of situations today. But for a lot of non or minimally verbal children, language doesn't always develop in that traditional way. So these individuals often might understand more language than they can actually express. So what we find is without repeated or meaningful exposure to different language, words, expressions, things like that, it can be even harder for them to sort of build these skills, essentially.
Yeah, and we gotta be very realistic here. I mean, speaking as a parent myself, it can be really hard to provide that language enrichment naturally. We're expected to be the chef, the guide, the therapist, the appointment setter, appointment reminder, cab driver, whatever, what have you. We have lots of roles. So remembering to program language into your daily routines can be really hard, especially when transitions create a lot of chaos and stress is high. So I'm kind of thinking in terms of my own personal experience, very hard to weave in language enrichment practices when I'm trying to make dinner and kids are running around and or we're trying to just get out the door to go to school and get everybody to where they need to be. It makes it a challenge. But what's crucial about what we're talking about today is it's in those moments, the everyday natural occurring instances where language really makes sense to a child and really can take shape. This is like the golden opportunities because it's relating to what they're actually doing. So we have found that with the AngelSense assistive technology, it really has become a tool for life. We don't just consider it with safety, we can consider it with things like this, where you can program language into your child's day truly effortlessly. So that's what we're here to chat about.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's what we want to show you today. We're going to show you 4 simple strategies or different ways to really build language using these features you already have with your AngelSense. So whether your child is nonverbal, has a couple of emerging words, or is, just needs a little bit of extra support in their development of language, these strategies are, again, here to meet you where you are. So with that, we like to start these webinars off with a quote around more of a theme of the day. So our quote for today is: "Silence is never the end of a story. With a little bit of patience, love, and the right tools, every child can find their voice." So Melissa, do you want to kick us off with those 4 strategies?
Absolutely. Oh, I love that quote so much because it's true and it's been proven true in our life as well. So our 4 strategies, I want to make sure these strategies utilize features of the AngelSense called the smart voice and also the two-way speaker. And if you're not familiar with how to get to these features or how to use them towards the end of the session, I'll be going into my personal app and showing you how to do that. So with that understanding, the 2 features that this mostly relies on, first, language live, and that's using the smart voice on demand in the moment, programming language without you having to actually speak it. We have scheduled speaking, which is more based on routines, scheduled messages being sent at certain times, labeling transitions, labeling warnings, labeling different things that might rely on a schedule. Language on the go, which means pairing the smart voice messages with arrival or departure to familiar places. And we'll get into these strategies in depth in just a moment. This is just kind of your preview. And then say it with me, which is using the two-way speaker to start to prompt a little bit of language coming back to you. And again, you might be looking at these strategies thinking like, I don't know how this applies to someone who is either verbal, nonverbal, or emerging in their communication skills, but wait till you see what we got. Like we've had such great experience with it. So I want to talk about, why would you use the speaker? Why would you use an assistive technology at all for language enrichment? So there's many reasons, and this is very, very near and dear to my heart, as I mentioned. So first, for a child who is on the spectrum, when they're in their natural environment, like home, school, anywhere, like I mentioned, this is the key opportunity for children to start building up those skills because the activities they're doing are relevant. It's not a skill and drill looking at a picture and labeling it. They actually are engaging with the things in their environment. However, when they are doing so, auditory input in that environment tends to kind of muddle, what is taken in and what is kind of just junk, stimuli in the air. So you might notice when your child is kind of engaged in play or they're doing an activity and you say their name or you say something to them, they don't attend. And Lauren and I even have worked with lots of kiddos before. And even just when my son would play, you go into play and they're kind of like, no, I'm doing my thing over here. I don't want you to come in and start saying a bunch of things to me. So the reason that the speaker has proven to be so effective is one, it is clear it's attached to them. So it's very different and distinct from the other auditory stimuli that's going to be around. So they're way more likely to hear it. And you may have noticed that your child can very well repeat or even pick up on things that they hear in songs, in videos, from electronic devices. And that's because the auditory stimuli is very different. So it's easier to pick out of the environment. So for a child who tends to repeat songs and phrases or even sounds that they hear from technology, that it's because the stimuli is different. And also, when we are using an assistive technology like this through a speaker, it's your voice in a way that they can hear it. And then also, it doesn't interrupt their play. They don't think that you're coming in and trying to change what they're doing or trying to get them to focus attention on you, then attach what you're saying to what they're doing. There's a lot of moving pieces to that make it very difficult. So the speaker has made it a lot easier for the kids that we work with to actually attend to what's being spoken and then later on repeat it. So those repetitions, that echolalia repeating, can turn into functional language if it's associated. And we'll talk to that in just a minute.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's where we're going to start off with our first strategy, which is that language live. It's all about using that smart voice, but using it on demand in different ways to really enrich your child's environment with language, with meaningful, functional, and concise, clear language. So, for example, if your child is playing, you could, tape a recording that says red ball or find the red ball or nice job stacking the blocks. So as you're sitting there and watching and observing your child, you can kind of contrive the environment with those materials and schedule on demand play those recordings when they find the red ball. So again, it's a way for us to deliver that message. So either that prompt or the instruction or the reward or us saying great job. So it's a way to deliver that without directly interrupting their playtime. So like Melissa said, they might not want to be interrupted, but it's a way for us to still get that clear message across to them. So what we're really trying to do here is aiming to be able to provide language enrichment during these different times.
Yeah, one mom we've worked with, it's really cool to see this in action. And it's very specific as to why it would be a recorded message that you send on demand. So this mom, what we did is we had her set up kind of a controlled play environment. So maybe she was at the little playground they have in their backyard and they have, like Lauren said, a red ball and they have a slide and they have so the toys that the child could interact with were few. They were few. It wasn't a bunch of distracting toys because there's no way you can record 100 messages for everything your child owns. So she had only these things in the environment and she had a recorded message for each of these things. So when the child would go to approach that thing or interact with that thing, it just kind of looked like mom was doing her thing on her phone and she would play the message as the child was approaching the thing. You wouldn't want to use the two-way in this case, because if you were to use like the two-way speaker and you're saying it and it's coming through, you might get feedback, or then also you might dilute kind of the auditory stimuli because it's your voice and it's also coming from this. Now, the reason you would do something like this is because when a child doesn't have a lot of language, or they have no language, or even if they're trying to strengthen their language, like maybe you're trying to work on their pronunciation of things. If the child's going for the red ball and mom shoots off the message, red ball, it's very clear. And then the child goes to the slide, up and down the slide. And it's the same every time. Our children start to pick up language when it is consistent, it's easy, and it's clear. So a lot of times when we see therapists playing with kids, or even when we play with our own kids and we're at the playground with them and we say, oh, you went up the slide. Good job. Oh, you're going down. Oh, wow, that was fast. You're going to go to the red ball now. We call it language pollution. It makes sense to us. Yes, we're providing language in the environment, but the child is only hearing pollution. They're not hearing those clear-cut things that they can start repeating. If there's only a few things in the environment to play with, we have messages that go click, red ball, it's clear, they can hear it, they can start repeating it because they've heard it. Every time I go to the red ball, it says red ball. This must be a red ball. I can say red ball. It has to be those associations with the items or the activities that will start to create that meaning. Language is only meaning. If the child knows what to associate it with, then they now know how to start using it. So those on-demand messages make it very cool. You're not interrupting play, like Lauren said. They have a very clear auditory stimuli that tells them what that thing is. Every time I go to this, it says this. This must be what it means. So
Yep,
that's the language enrichment you would get from this strategy.
exactly.
We
Yeah.
want to hear from you again. How many smart voice messages do you currently have? Do you know what smart voice is? Do you know how to use it? I hope if you say no, do not worry because that's what we're here for. We're going to show you and it's going to be great. So if you want to scan the QR code and tell us like how many messages you have, if none, no big deal. Today might be the day that you're like, hey, I could do that.
Hmm. Yeah, in our last webinar, we found out about 60% of our participants only actually thought the SOS button called the police. So
Doesn't call the police.
yeah,
And smart voice is very amazing to me because we've learned with the parents that we worked with different ways to use it. And this was like a
yeah.
big discovery for us.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
Well, yeah, let's talk more about it and how you can use it. So that brings us to our second strategy, which is using scheduled speaking. So this is again one of our favorites and one of our go-tos with a lot of our families, and it involves recording smart voice messages that play at predictable times throughout the day. So during routines, you might record it's time for breakfast or go brush your teeth or time to get ready for bed, and different messages like that. And then what you can do, and again, we will show you, Melissa's going to show you at the end of this, how to schedule them to play right before those activities are about to occur. So it's a really convenient way to prompt different, again, kind of daily living skill activities, routines, take your medication, all of those sorts of things.
Yeah, I do see someone in the chat quick saying it's for kids. It's for adults with communication too. Anybody who has limited communication will learn the same way. So any person, individual on the spectrum, yes, mostly we've actually worked with individuals all the way from 4 to 31. So it is relevant for whomever is having a communication delay, has limited communication. So if you are here, the person you're considering is an adult, these strategies will work. You would just do maybe different activities. So like if for language live, you might do, they're about to do their, you know, some kind of vocational activity, or they're about to do something in relation to a program that they're going to. The examples we give, even if they are for kids, the strategy stays the same. It would just be the
Even,
different activities.
even for elderly loved
Right,
ones that are using AngelSense, a lot of those smart voice messages, like take your medication, those can be also be scheduled and be helpful for those individuals with dementia, things like
right,
that.
right. Absolutely. So with that, we're going to go back into strategy two. What I want to make note of is, so if you provide a scheduled message to play and it talks about a routine. If your child doesn't follow that routine right away and they still require assistance, that's fine because we're not looking at receptive instructions here. We're looking at associating words to actions. When you hear brush your teeth, this is the action that follows. When you hear breakfast time, this is the food that follows. When you hear bedtime, This is the routine that follows. Again, making that consistent word to activity association means that you can begin to say it's time for bed and they will follow the routine, or they might even say it themselves. So it's really building up again those meaningful associations. So with that, let's go to our third strategy, which is language on the go. Now, this one is again smart voice. You have pre-recorded messages, but those messages get played upon arrival or departure from a named place. And if you don't know, if you have a named place or you need help with doing a named place, you can always call support. We'll give the information at the end and they will walk you through how to do that. You'll see on my app as well what a named place looks like. But when the child arrives or departs, you can have it play a message based on that. So when they arrive to school, it will automatically do welcome to school, time to learn. And these are automated. The cool thing about scheduled speaking and language on the go is that once you record that message, you're done. You don't do anything. You don't have to set that off. The minute you set the scheduled message to play, or the minute that child leaves somewhere or arrives somewhere, that message will play. So you're good to go. So again, it can say, welcome to school, time to learn. When they get home, they could be like, this is home, welcome home. Or when they're leaving therapy, bye-bye therapy, see you later. Or if there's a person they love at their therapy location, like bye-bye. We had Miss Miss Christie, and he called her Miss Christmas Tree, which is really cute. So it could have said bye, Miss Christmas Tree, and just different things that they can learn to say upon leaving or arriving somewhere. And this is really great for adults and elderly dementia as well, because it provides that language and association to those familiar places.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then in one family we worked with, child was nonverbal, minimal verbal skills. What we did is had mom schedule these very short phrases for arrival at the specific locations that he would go to day. So, and they were just short messages. So school, grandma's, store, things of that nature. And what we started to see and what started to occur was that he gradually started repeating these words either after hearing them or just spontaneously she started to hear him starting to say these words. So what we noticed was it started to it really helped get some of that spontaneous language going for that particular individual, which then from there we can build upon that in different ways. So it's a great way, again, to just add language to familiar environments, and that repetition can strengthen that comprehension, helps your child associate phrases. I love this part, associating phrases with places, which can also help reduce anxiety too. If there's any anxiety around transitions from, different activities, different locations, things like that. All right, and then we have our final strategy. Say it with me. This is using the two-way speakerphone, the two-way speaker, so you can model language in real time. So think of it as, echoic prompting, imitation, things like that, verbal imitation. So your child might be washing their hands and you can use the speaker to say wash, or they might be on a bike and you could say, you can, through that speakerphone, say we, and our goal there is that we really start to see some verbal imitation from the individuals. So
Yeah, this kind of scripting really supports having something come back to you. So again, this is different from Language Live, where you're kind of sitting passive and observing the play in a contained environment so you can send those messages. This is more like they're doing something, you're not really in sight. Again, you're not interrupting the activity or the play or whatever it might be, but you are giving something that they can say that is related to what they're doing. So like Lauren said, you can, when you're washing your hands, you can start to say wash, or if they're on a slide or they're on their bike and you could say we, or if someone is somewhat verbal and they're working on different social things, they're getting on the bus and you can hang back and say hello. There's the bus driver, say hello. Trying to work in those things that would be common for a person to say when engaging in that activity. So you do want to have it in the two-way, so that you can hear if they repeated you, or you can provide them prompting kind of in real time. This is really where you want to try to get something back. So along the way, you want to, get excited if they say anything toward it. So I want to highlight too, this provides a really good way to give them language for something that they're doing, something that they can say, something that they can build on, that's relevant to whatever it is they're doing, but then they're also not having to split attention. This is such an important part of this presentation, is that the reason we would choose to do this through technology and not just in person is because when a child is engaging in the activity, the moment we give them something to say or we try to give them a word, the attention goes from the activity to you and then back to the activity, and that association is not being made, not with the types of learners that we are working with. So this is your way to kind of give them language for what they're doing without having them shifting back and forth, and it's very interactive. So let's bring it back all together.
Yeah.
When we think about language growth, what's the first thing that you think about? First thing that I thought about when my son was coming into his diagnosis was speech therapy. We got to get him into speech therapy, which is amazing. I loved it. I love speech therapy and I love all of the therapies that he did. But I think about, flashcards, drilling and like learn this word and use this word, but it really happens in everyday life. Where he really started to shine was when he was given language. I remember it distinctly. He would memorize Despicable Me Too. And I had a, oh my gosh moment when he was starting to come into his language. We were in church in this big auditorium, and he pretended to be Gru giving a motivational speech and yelled. And I was like, oh my gosh, but he repeated the script. It's those everyday situations where they say, I've seen that before. I can apply that here. So that's why we we strive to build language in those moments, because that's where it's the strongest. Language is a muscle. You can't go to the gym one time and expect to lift a car over your head. You have to go every day. 5 pounds turns into 10, turns into 15, turns into one day you can lift the car. So by starting in these moments, we really want to shape. We want to start with the fives. If you say wash and they say wah, great, get excited about that, because it's shaping, it's building it up, and it's becoming more and more fluent, and it takes that consistency. That's why we're so passionate about things like Language Live, and like the messages that are clear and they're the same every time, is it's consistent. It's the child will start to understand. It's every single time that specific phrase, so there's no threat of language pollution. And again, allow for growth. Be really excited about those approximations, or those, like, it's kind of like the word, but not quite the word. Get excited and shape over time. So if you say wash and you get wah, then be like, yeah, yeah, good. Wash, and highlight it. So start building on it. And I promise you will see consistent progress.
Yeah. Yep. And then of course, celebrate the progress. See that like Melissa's saying, the consistency, patience, recognize what language communication looks like. And it's different for every child. So yeah.
It is. Now with that, this is bringing it all together. This is the snapshot of what we've just talked about, our strategies. Quickly, before we end today, I want to go in and make sure that we know how to use these. So this is my app. My son is visiting his dad right now. He didn't have, a whole lot of action today, so that's all right. But to go in and record a message for Smart Voice, you go into voice, message, you click add voice message. Now, this is where it can depend on what strategy you want to use. Language Live is on demand. So that means you tap and record a message. and then that message gets saved. You name it so you know exactly what it is. And then when your child is going to the activity or the item that you are talking about, you send it. So that's the most laborsome one. If you're talking about scheduled speaking, same idea, except you would pick on specific days and times. You go to the days, you select the time that you want. Every time I do this in a demonstration, it asks me if I want to save my changes, and I'm always like, So if that happens, bear with me. But again, you're done after that. It's going to do it at the day and the time that you select, and you can record messages as you want. So it can be several routines. You might start with one, whatever you think is best. And then the language on the go would be either arrival at named places or departure from named places. So when they're going into, I'll show you briefly. See, it did it. I told you. Yes, I want to navigate. Where he is now is a named place. He goes there all the time. When he stops somewhere for more than a few minutes, they're going to say, "Hey, do you want to name this place?" If you do not have a named place and you want to do language on the go, please contact support. Like I mentioned earlier, they can help you learn. If I were to do it right now, it would be like a much longer presentation. But contact support, they're so great, and they use AngelSense all the time for their own kids. But when they leave or arrive, that message would play. Now, for say it with me, you'd go into voice again and you would click that two-way voice. Many of you, I think, do know from what I'm seeing in the chat how to get to that. So it would just be going into that. I'm not going to click through it because if I were to call him right now, he would be bugging at me. Like, what are you doing? I'm playing. So that is how you use those features. And yeah, let me get back to where we are here. So we want to go back to our quote. Silence is never the end of a story. With patience, love, and the right tools, every child can find their voice. Notice we didn't say, find their vocals, find their voice, find a way to communicate, but don't take our word for it. Let's hear from a family that is actually here, which is amazing, but has seen so much success by using AngelSense. Awesome. Yes, we will email it to you. Yep.
I'm Tammy Weiss, better known as Morgan's mom. Morgan is 31 years old and she's on the autism spectrum. She was diagnosed at age 3.5. She had normal development until about 18 months of age. And then she lost a lot of her language, a lot of her words. She started echoing back. It's like someone was taking our child away because little by little, we got to where we couldn't get her attention. She wouldn't look me in the eye. When I was talking to her, she just got this distant stare. What I want for Morgan is the same thing I want for my older daughter. I want them both to live a full, meaningful life. Before, Morgan didn't have the ability to answer, whereas with the AngelSense watch, I call and it hears her immediately and I can start talking to her. So that was huge. I wanted to know that whenever she was away from me, she had a way to reach me if she wanted to come home. And then once I knew that, I was a lot more comfortable with letting her go to new situations. The more she knew she could get me, the more her confidence was built. So that was really a big difference. Just going to the grocery store and being able to, well, go, if you want it, go get it. And if you need me, just call me. Go back and get it. And I would stay in one place and let her go and come back. And to see the look on her face, I did it. Whenever she goes to get what she's getting and comes back, she's just so proud of herself. And each time that happens, we both get confidence. Because of AngelSense, I'm getting to see Morgan be Morgan. I'm getting to see her personality. When I thought it was at the end of what we could do, when I thought we'd finally hit the wall, I've said it before, they showed us some windows. They showed me there was another step we could do. And so that was it. We weren't done yet. What I would say for other parents who are looking for this, especially for young adults, is not just for an adult that might elope or, take off by themselves. It's very much about the independence because that's what we did it for Morgan, to take them to the next step. I'm just thankful that they're showing me the things that she could do that I didn't know. So thank you, AngelSense, for giving both Morgan and me the confidence and the independence that we've needed for a very long time.
Can't watch that without
I
just
know. The
I love
best.
this family so much. Just oh my gosh. So we are doing a lot of these at FYI. So what topic would you like us to cover in our next webinar? Let's hear from you. We like to keep it relevant. This is for you. We so appreciate you taking your time with us and believing in this tool for life that has changed so many lives. I know it's changed mine. My son has used his AngelSense for 10 years now. So the we just are truly thankful.
And
We
if you
want,
see something up there, pop it in the chat.
oh, IEP process.
I just had a conversation about that today.
That's coming up a lot. Yeah,
Yep.
we can do that. All these. I love it. Ah, who said that? I gotta see the name. Rachel, you're my kind of girl. Yeah, we can do all of them. Is it good to repeat? Okay, we got so as you're answering, if this is it for you, please feel free to go ahead. Thank you again for joining us. We're so appreciative of you. I'm going to get to some of these questions that I'm seeing in the chat. Oh, expressing pain. Is there a way to take note of these? Because that's so good. That's so good.
Yeah, we'll have it all in
We
the
already we have ideas like for that. So thanks, Joyce. All right. So is it good to repeat the message? Is there often a delay in the person hearing the message so they don't miss what was said? You can choose to repeat it. In my mind, it doesn't matter because language enrichment is not your typical instruction response. Language enrichment, it's like the more they hear it, the better. So if you think your child would learn better by it repeating, then absolutely go for it. There's no like if you do it this way, it's so not going to work for language enrichment. The only thing that doesn't work for language enrichment is either language pollution or not speaking at all. And by repeating one phrase, you're not creating language pollution. So let me see. How long is too long for a message? Ah, these questions are so great. It depends on the language level of your child or whoever your loved one is. So if someone is nonverbal, I would say no more than a word or two. Just keep it very, very much and don't make them complicated words. Like if you were going to do like up, down, slide, you slide a lot. I would use just those very clear words. I wouldn't go like two twisty slide. I wouldn't do a whole lot of descriptive. I would just do basically nouns or actions. If they're a little bit more verbal and you're trying to strengthen, then you can use some descriptions in there like blue ball, or even like you threw the ball or things like that. So it depends on the language that your child has already. For almost nonverbal, I would not do very lengthy at all. You will get an email with this recording and some other information as well. Back to back on. So yes, someone answered the connection. I don't know if you're in Wisconsin and you use Cellcom like myself, you might be having some issues, and that's not necessarily your device, that's the carrier. So I would maybe go to your carrier if you're having issues, or even that's another thing you can contact support about. Definitely, definitely. If you have issues connecting your communication features, please call support. In my mind, the communications on your AngelSense are so a like safety's here and then communications like just a notch below. Like it's so important. So please make sure that you get in contact with support. They would love to talk to you. Does Smart Voice incur costs after the 60 minutes of use a month? That is a good one. I do not know. I think it does use your minutes. How many minutes it uses, I'm not sure. So again, like maybe just shoot a quick message out to support and see what they say. Not much at all. I've never run over my 60 minutes. But if you are using two-way and you're using one way frequently, then I would maybe check into that. I'm sorry I can't be more of help on that one.
Yes.
Um, Average age of AngelSense users everywhere, everywhere. We've had, like little ones to, um, we know people who have parents who prefer to age in place instead of going into a residential facility. So, um, we're just kind of everywhere. I mean, it depends on your loved one. Uh, just trying to make sure I get them all.
Yep,
Oh,
somebody asked what the Q tone was. It says none in incoming interface or simple. I believe they're referring to the audible tones.
oh, I see. Um, Actually, there is a tone that I think goes off it goes off right before that message is delivered to kind of grab attention. Um, I would play around with it because I don't think you can change what that tone is. If you are talking about audible tones, like when you go to alarm in the feature, um, then I would play around. It depends on what you want to use the tone for. So we've used the tone for signaling a transition, in which case you would want a soft, you don't want an alarming one. But if your child or loved one hides and you're trying to find them, then you kind of want that more alarming tone. Again, if you have any questions about the actual features and your app and how to set them up and how to use them, please contact our support. What I have found with the AngelSense and all of its features is day one, and even probably my first couple years using it, I really didn't use it to its full potential because I didn't really understand all of the features. And it seems like a lot because it is a lot because it does a lot. So to make sure that it's tailored to you, I would really get on with someone from support. We're not talking about, someone who's working in a call center, we're talking about like actual parents that use this and are working out of their homes because they were given employment by AngelSense because they couldn't work with having a child with special needs. So you're talking to family, you're talking to people that will be so happy to like walk you through setting all of this stuff up to where you need it. Is there any option in the future that AngelSense will longer? That is a really good one. I think that you could look into what mode your AngelSense is on. So the AngelSense is kind of like an actual guardian angel. So think about you, think about like your energy level. When your child is with you at home or at school, exactly where they need to be at the times they need to be. You're not stressed out. So your battery life is high. But if you're traveling a lot, if you're moving around a lot, and you have your AngelSense on the mode of like heightened alert for frequent notifications, that battery level is going to drain sooner. So again, contact support and make sure that you're on a mode that's good for you. We're always looking to improve. So battery life, I know that is like something that we always are trying to extend as much as possible. So I would definitely go into your settings, and if you're not comfortable with it, get someone with support to help you and make sure that your settings are okay, because you should be getting at least a good day without having to charge it. And if you need to wear it at night, please like always contact us too. If it's like you have a child who needs to have it on at night, we can help you find areas of the day where it's like, okay, they're sitting down at the dinner table, plop it on the charger. Okay, after bath, put it back on. Different ways that you can do that. Um,
That's everything.
I think we got it. Yeah. If you get this in your email, if you know of anyone who might like this information too, you are always welcome to share it. We really love um, giving you everything that we can from the experience that we've had. You're so important to us, and we want to make sure that, you are able to use this as your tool for life. I can't tell you how many families we've worked with that have just seen so many great things, and we want that to continue on. So thank you so much for coming. We're tickled. We're so happy that you're here with us.
But next one.
Yeah, please join us for the next one. We're going to
Mhm.
take your feedback. It's looking like IEP.
I know.
IEP.
Hot topic.
Uh, but if you do think of a topic that you didn't think of it until now, it could be a week after this, guys. Email us. Let us know, like, hey, we saw your webinar. We want a webinar on this. We'll do it. This is what we want to do. Well, friends, if that's all the questions, I think we can sign off for today. Thank you so much again for attending, and please come on for the next one.
All right. Bye, guys.